Hello my people, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Agnes. In today's tutorial I'll show you how to crochet this ribbed top. It's quite easy. It's a one row repeat. It's very fast. I used chunky yarn, so I made this in like 6-8 hours, so you should be able to make this in a day. And yeah, I'll tell you how to make it in different sizes. Let's go straight into the tutorial. For the yarn, I'm going to be using this Lina yarn from Volido. A friend of mine asked me why I say it as Volido, not Wolido or something like that. But it's a German company, and in German you pronounce the W as a V. So that's why I say Volido and not Wolido, I think. All right, so it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So it's 100 grams, 90 meters each ball. And it recommends a 7mm hook. It is a chunky yarn, bulky yarn, so it recommends 7, but I'm going to be using an 8mm hook. I don't know if you can see that. Need a tape measure, scissors, and some stitch markers. I'll be using yarn as my stitch marker, so you can use any other yarn that you have, any other size. We are going to be using measurements, so as long as you have the right measurements, then you can have the same outcome with any yarn size and hook size. I'm going a size bigger on the hook because we are using slip stitches, and it can be quite hard to work slip stitches with tight stitches, so I would recommend that you go a hook larger. So all right, this top, it's quite stretchy. The stitch is very stretchy, so we'll start from one side with a foundation chain, work a part 1, and then make a decrease part, which is part 2, and then we have the neckline, which is 4 inches, and then we do an increase part, which is the same as this other side, and then this last part is also the same number of rows as this side. So mainly it is part 1, part 2, and part 3. And then part 4 is same as part 2, and part 5 is the same as part 1. And we'll do 2 panels and then join them together and then do a slip stitch round around the neckline, and that's it. Start with this part here, which is your foundation chain, and it is the length of your top. So measure from the top of your shoulder to where you want your top to reach, and that's the length of chain that you will make. So make a slip knot, and I'm going to make chains 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to keep chaining until I have a chain that is long as the length of my top that I want. So yours will be different, so also chain depends on how long you want your top. Then so this is my chain, and it is about 17 inches long. Okay, so you need to write that down because you need the same number of chains later, so just write yourself. Mine is 36 chains, which is 17 inches, 36 chains. So write down that for later. You might need it for the next panel. And now that we have the length of our top, you're going to chain 1, which is a turning chain. Okay, so 1 is a turning chain, so we are going to skip that 1 chain, and then we're going to go into the next chain with a slip stitch. So a slip stitch, you just go in with your hook like this, and then you pull through that loop. Okay, so go in like this and you pull through like that. That's 2, 3, 4. Don't make your stitches tight. If you work your slip stitches tight, it gets harder to work the next row. So keep everything loose. So you're going to work 1 slip stitch in every chain until you get to the end. As for me, I started with 36 chains, so I'll have 36 slip stitches. Okay, then I'll meet you at the end. So I'm coming to the end. So this is my second last stitch, and this right here is my 36th stitch. You'll have more stitches if you're making something longer or using a smaller yarn. And now for row 2, so this is row 1, and row 2 we are going to do the same. So you are going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn your work. Chain 1 is our turning chain, and we are going to be working only in the back loop. Okay, so chain 1, turn your work, you skip this chain 1. So this is going to be my first, here is going to be my first stitch, and we are only working in the back loop. So only in one loop, this loop that is at the back. So you go in and you make a slip stitch only in the back loop. So if you want to keep your work straight, you better watch where you put your first stitch. How I began the row here, make sure you're not putting in the wrong stitch. Watch your first stitch and your last stitches. It would be easy for you to count the stitches so that you're not missing any. At the end of the row, you should have the same number of stitches like you had on row 1. So keep working in the back loop, 1 slip stitch until the end. Keep your stitches not tight. All right, I'm coming to the end, and as you can see, you see these 2 V's here. So I have 2 stitches remaining, so I'll work, and this here is going to be my last slip stitch. Okay, if you're confused, count your stitches. Okay, so now for the next 3rd row is going to be the same as row 2. So you chain 1, turn your work, and as you know, this right here, this chain is the turning chain, so you don't work in it. I don't mean the one with our hook in, but this one. Okay, so we chained 1, we don't work in it. Instead, we are going to work in this one, which is going to be only in the back loop. So skip this turning chain and go into this first stitch here in the back loop and just keep working. Slip stitches, not tight. If you have a problem keeping them not tight, just use a bigger hook. All right, and now you're going to keep repeating this until you have the measurements on the chart that I'm going to put right now for your size. Check for your size and work until you have those measurements. So here we are. I did 9 rows, and my 9 rows are an equivalent of 2.5 inches, and this is what I was aiming for, 2.5. Okay, so note down how many rows you have in 2.5 because you'll need that later for the other side. Mine is 9 rows. Okay, so it's like, this was the foundation chain, so it's like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. Okay, so I have 9 rows. If I'm working on the right side, you can see it's about 1 2 3 4 and a half these ribs. Okay, but I have this foundation chain here, and I have half a row, a rib here, 1 row. So I have 9 rows, and if I flip it to the wrong side, it looks like I have 1 2 3 4 5 ribs, but yeah, doesn't matter. I know that it's 9 rows because I was noting down each time I made a row, and it is 2.5 inches. The inches is what is most important, because we can have 2.5 inches but different number of rows. So next is now going to be a decrease. So we will be decreasing on only one side. Okay, so I am going to decrease on this side. So what I will do is I'll work my 10th row, and once I have 3 stitches to go, I will meet you there so that I can show you how we make the decrease. So this is my decreasing row, and I want to decrease at the end, so I am going to work in this stitch. I have 2 stitches left, so I will skip this second stitch here and work into the last one. So this second last stitch, I'll skip it and then just go straight to the last one and work a slip stitch. So I have 35 stitches, yet all these were 36 because I skipped one here. And now the next row, I'm only decreasing on one end. This other end is straight, okay? So I'm going to turn my work, and we're going to make another decrease. So I skip this one because this is the turning chain, and I am going to work in this first slip stitch here, and then the second one I will skip it. So I'll go into the 3rd stitch and make a slip stitch like that. Then now I'm going to just continue working slip stitches all the way. All right, so I'll go all the way down here, and then come back all the way up and make another slip stitch. I mean another decrease here, and then another decrease as I go down. And this, we want the 3.5 inches that I have for my size, right? I already have 2.5, so I need to decrease for 1 more inch to have the 3.5. Okay, so check the chart, see how many inches you need to decrease, and once you have that, then we'll stop decreasing, and then I'll meet you. I did 4 rows, and at this point I now have my 3.5 inches. All right, so I have my 3.5 inches, and I'm going to stop decreasing at that. I only decreased 4 stitches here, only 4 stitches, 4 rows. So now I'm just going to continue working. So my rows were my stitches were 36 in the beginning. I decreased 4, so I should have now only 32 here. So I'm going to do 32 until I have 4 inches of the neckline, and the neckline is 4 inches. So I'm going to start here again with my slip stitches, and I will meet you here at the top. So I worked my way up, and this right here is going to be my last stitch, so no more decreasing, so I don't have to skip any. So I'll go in with my last slip stitch, and I'm going to put a stitch marker just to mark where I started the neckline, so which is in this row here. For me, that is my 14th row. All right, and now I'm going to chain 1, which is my turning chain, turn my work, and now just continue to work like before. So skip this chain and into the first back loop, make slip stitches. So I'm going to do this until I have 4 inches. All right, so when I measure, I'll measure from this point until I have 4 inches, and then that's when I will know to stop, and then we can increase again to put these stitches back. So here we are. I did my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ribs and a half, so that's 15 rows. And from here where I have my stitch marker to where I am, it's 4 inches for my neckline. So now we are going to repeat what we have here, only that instead of decreasing, we'll be increasing. So here I had 1 inch, which was 4 rows for me. I'm going to do 4 rows of increase, and then I'll stop increasing. All right, so I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, okay, and I'm going to put a stitch marker so that I just know where I started the increase, but I will count my rows and note them down each time I finish a row. So in this first stitch here, this is the turning stitch, so I'll work in this one. I will make 2 slip stitches. It's going to be a little bit hard, so I'll make 1 slip stitch, and in that very same stitch I'll make another slip stitch. So it's 2 in 1 stitch, and then now I'll go on with my slip stitches, 1 slip stitch in 1 stitch in the back loop, and I'll go all the way to the bottom. Once I'm at the bottom, I'll come all the way up and make an increase in this last stitch, which means in this stitch I'll put 2 slip stitches. So I'll come meet you here. So this is my first row of increase. I will note it down. When I come back up, it will be my second row of increase. I need to do 4, which are an equivalent of 1 inch for me. I went all the way down, then came back all the way up, and here I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left. So I'm going to work these 2. Because of the increase, one will be looking really small, so make sure you don't miss it. So I was working 32 stitches here. On this where I made an increase, it's 33, and now I need to make 34 stitches. So this is the last stitch. I make my 33rd, and then in that same stitch you make another slip stitch. So you go in again with another slip stitch, which is an awkward slip stitch, but yeah, so now I have 34. So chain 1, turn my work, and skip this, yeah, and then in this first one here I'll make 2 slip stitches like that. So that's 35. By the time I get all the way down, it will be 35, and then I'll come all the way up again and make another increase to make it 36. And once I have 36, just like I have here, then I will continue to do just straight, just like we did here in the beginning, until I have the same number of straight rows like I had here. I started with 9 straight rows, if you remember. So after I've done the 4 increases, then I will do the 9 rows, and that will be it. So I'll meet you once I've done with that part. So I'm just going to keep increasing until I have my 4 rows of increase, which is the same as 4 stitches, and then just continue to work straight. Okay, so here it is. I'm done. I did this number of rows are the same number of rows here, and then the number of rows for the decrease are also the same number of rows that we decreased here, and in the middle is our 4 inches. So same 11 inches. And so this is our first panel, and your second panel is going to be exactly the same. On my second panel I left a long tail to join later using a needle, but you will do your second panel, so you should have 2 panels that are identical, right? Once you have the 2 panels, then we are going to join here at the top and here at the top, and then we will leave space for the sleeves and then join the rest at the bottom. Join this and leave for the where our arms pass. Okay, so I'm going to show you, do your second sleeve and then come back. What we'll do now is sew these tops together, only this straight part and not the where we did the decreases. So I have my yarn and my yarn needle, but you can also sew this together using a slip stitch if you don't have a yarn needle. and I'm going to sew this on the wrong side. I already did one part, and this is how it looks on the right side, so I'm going to do the same for this side. And I will just start from the corner, insert my needle like that, leave a little bit of a tail, and I first tie it like this. And then I'm just going to go in both loops or both panels like this, just sewing together. You can use any other sewing method that you like to sew this together. It's, in the end, just have it sewed together. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as it's sewed in the end. Yeah, I think it's secure. Oopsie. I need to file that. So I'll go ahead and sew in this loose end backwards. And that's it. So do the same for this other side, okay? And in the end, you should have them both sewed together. And this is how it looks on this other side. So before we, all right, so for the armhole, from top to where I want to put my stitch marker, I want to leave 7 inches. So from the top all the way to where I have 7 inches, okay? So I'm going to put my stitch marker there. So check the chart for how many inches you need to leave for your size, and then we're going to sew from up down here all the way to where that stitch marker is. This is our armhole. All right, so I had left a long tail here, so I'm going to sew all the way from here to where I have my stitch marker and leave out this armhole. So I'll be going in from the inside in every stitch, in, out, in, out. All right, so all the way to the stitch marker. Once you're done sewing the loose ends, cut your yarn and do the same for this other side, and I'll meet you once you have both sides sewn together so that we can do this part. And sewed both sides, okay, and now I am going to do, we're going to do the top here. We're going to work a slip stitch row all around, a slip stitch round. So you're going to take your yarn, reattach it. I'm going to reattach it here at the top where we join the two panels, and then you're going to chain one, and we're going to work slip stitches all around. So it's better, instead of working like in one loop, find 2 loops so that it's more secure, and we work slip stitches around like this. Okay, so slip stitch all around until you get back here where you started. So I came all the way around, and I'm going to slip stitch on top of this chain one that we had here, and just close it off. Chain one, cut off the yarn, and then weave in the end. So we can leave it at that. Initially I wanted to make a turtleneck so that, you know, but I don't think so. I don't think I will do that, so I'll just leave it like that. So for a bull neck, no, we're not going to do that. So cut off the yarn, sew in all the ends, and try on your top. That should be it. Looks something like this. And yeah, I will try it on and show you how it looks like. So this is how the top looks on me. I love it, and I hope you like it too. If you do, please leave a like or a comment, share this video to your groups, and if I happen to write a pattern, it will be available in my Etsy shop and yancy.com. I will leave the links in the description box. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.